Χαίρετε. Χαίρετε.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, good afternoon again. My name is Panagiotis Tafanidis. Today we shall do the safety on board, which is part of month 131 of Cyprus Maritime Academy. The chapter that we shall discuss today is entering and walking in enclosed and confined space areas. Okay. Before I will start, I would like to inform you that I will mute you in order that we can proceed with the presentation. If you have any question, you may raise your hand, and then the floor will be yours. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
So we can proceed now. As I've mentioned, my name is Panagiotis Tafanidis. I'm Captain Class C, and we shall start the lecture. Today's lesson is designed to enhance the knowledge of seaport staff regarding enclosed space entries. It emphasizes on the precautions and procedures to be carried out for the safe and efficient entry and work inside the confined spaces. At the end of this lesson, the trainee, that means you as a cadet, will be able to identify enclosed space on board the vessel, identify the hazards in the enclosed space, prepare for an entry into the enclosed space, and mostly that we shall focus today is to perform his or her responsibilities during the enclosed space. The above 3 points, we have done it already to previous classes. Today we shall do the fourth bullet point, which is how the seafarers on board can perform their duties and responsibilities in order to be safe to enter the enclosed space. One of the most important parts of the vessel and the crew member is the master. So, which are the responsibilities of the master? He is responsible for the safety of every crew member on board and must ensure that the preparations, hazard identification, entry and exit supervision are carried out safely and efficiently. He must ensure that all parties involved, such as responsible person, assigned leader on entry the space, and the person assigned at the entrance are competent and knowledgeable of their responsibilities. He must ensure that the established procedures for enclosed space entry are implemented. He must be sure means that he has to be totally 100% sure that all precaution measures are done. Responsible officer. Responsible officer to master that the enclosed space entry procedures were properly carried out and enclosed space entry permit has been completed diligently. He must ensure that the space is properly ventilated, atmosphere has been tested, and various levels have found safe for entry. Safeguards are in place to protect personnel from the hazard that are identified and appropriate means for controlling entry are in place. So, that is the responsibilities of a responsible officer, not any crew member, but it has to be an officer. Personnel entry the space. Personnel carry out work in the enclosed space are responsible for following the procedures and for using the safety equipment specified. So further below, we shall specify what precaution measures has to take and mostly the safety equipment they need to use. Person assigned that the entrance of the space remain outside the enclosed space in the immediate vicinity of the entrance and be in contact with the responsible officer, the person assigned as leader entering the space, officer of the watch. report to the OOW, which means the officer watch, the entry and exit of personnel in the enclosed space. Should be fully familiar with the emergency response procedures if any of the crew in the space found themselves in difficulty. So all the time they have to be in alert. So until now, do we have any questions?
Yes, Captain, I would like to ask you one question.
Yes, please tell me.
Which are the procedures that need to be followed by the seafarers?
Okay, the procedures, they have to be followed based on the international regulation, based on the IMO. On top of that, there are also, each and every company has their own procedures written based on the IMO. Therefore, the vessel on board has written procedures from the company. They have checklists created by the company, and based on that, they have to follow that. And we don't have to forget that whenever there is an entry into the space, there must be a checklist fulfilled, filed, and then sent also in the office to be recorded over there.
And why the officer of the watch needs to be informed about this?
That's a nice question. You are wondering, the officer watch on the bridge and the officer watch engaging, why do we need to know when somebody is entering an enclosed space which is somewhere else in the vessel? They need to know because they are handling serious and various of instruments and electronic things, meaning that the officer watch on the bridge needs to know who is entering the enclosed space entry and who is exiting the enclosed space in order to enter in the logbook, because it is a very crucial and vital job. Also, they need to be informed, engine and bridge, in order not to open any valves, any fuses, in order to be safe for the crew members. So imagine now, if a crew member is in the tank and the chief officer, for example, start doing the ballasting, immediately we have fatalities or any other damages for the vessels.
Okay, thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you also. So, let's move on. Safety work is being carried out inside the space for the following should be observed. Maintain continuous ventilation and lighting while work inside the enclosed space entry is in progress. Regularly test the atmosphere within the space while enclosed space is in progress, and during temporary breaks, do not carry tools into enclosed space, but lower them in canvas bag or bucket to avoid the possibility of being dropped. So imagine someone who is carrying tools with his hand, so that means he will have only one hand to climb or to go down to a ladder. Immediately, it is, as we say, potential for accident. So, before we shall finish this presentation, this short presentation, how and what precautions we need, the person who is responsible need to take, I would like also to show you a video which is based on today's lecture. But before I will go to the video, do we have any questions before we proceed?
No, Captain, everything is fine from my side.
Yeah, Mr. Kefriotis has a question.
Yes, I am not clear. I wanted to ask which farer is nominated to carry out the particular tasks. Do they have to be specially trained? Are they specially selected, or it can be anyone? How are they chosen?
That's a very nice question, and definitely a very good one. The crew members who are responsible to carry out these tasks are the ones that have the knowledge theoretically and practically. Now, you will tell me how they will have the practically. They can have it because each and every company, they have a CPT training, that means computer-based training for enclosed space entries, and they need to pass that. So all the crew members need to pass this training, plus the officers, by the experience, they know what precaution measures they need to take. And don't forget, the officers also passing additional courses for how to handle the crew, how to handle the crew entering the enclosed or any confined spaces. So they have a specific training based on the procedures of each company. Okay?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's see the video that I have chosen so we can share it and see. So we go, spare me a minute, please.
Yes, you can go up or down, share content. It's either, κύριε Παναγιώτη, πήγαινε, πάρ' το πάνω, λίγο πιο πάνω.
Hi.
Πρέπει να ενεργοποιήσεις το share, εκτός και αν δεν το βλέπω εγώ από την πλευρά μου. Πάρ' το, ακριβώς, πάρ' το λίγο πιο πάνω. Βλέπεις το κάπου το share, το κουμπί. Είναι, κάποτε είναι πάνω, κάποτε είναι κάτω, ανάλογα. Πρέπει να πάρεις το βελάκι στην άκρη της οθόνης, ή πάνω ή κάτω. Ωραία. Βρες το. Ωραία.
The learning objectives of this chapter are to understand the role of a competent person, to understand the role of a responsible officer, and to recognize how the responsible officer will apply the findings of the risk assessment for entry into a dangerous, enclosed or confined space. A competent person is a person capable of making an informal risk assessment. In the case of a proposed entry into an enclosed or confined space, this will primarily focus on the atmosphere within the space, but will also include a number of related factors, all of which the competent person must properly evaluate. The competent person should have sufficient theoretical knowledge and practical understanding of the hazards that might be encountered in order to be able to assess their likelihood and potential impact, and to define the precautions that will be necessary. A responsible officer is a person appointed by the master or by the company to take charge of an operation, such as entry into a dangerous, enclosed or confined space. The responsible officer may be the same individual as the competent person, or may be another officer specifically appointed to the task. The competent person and the responsible officer will usually be drawn from ship's personnel, but may, under certain circumstances, be appointed from shore. Superintendents, safety inspectors, dockyard managers, and repair specialists may all assume such duties, and, in these cases, it is essential that all personnel involved are aware of the identity of the responsible officer in particular. It is for the responsible officer to decide the procedures to be followed before and during entry into an enclosed or confined space. He will use the findings of the risk assessment to help him in his decisions and planning. The exact procedures will depend on whether the assessment shows there is minimal risk to the life or health of a person entering the space then or at any time in the future. There is no immediate risk to health and life, but a risk could arise during the course of work in the space. Or, the risk to life or health is significant or immediate. Click on the risk situation for more information. Where the assessment shows that there is minimal risk to the life or health of a person entering the space, then routine safety and documentation procedures will be followed. Where the assessment shows that there is no immediate risk to health or life, but that a risk could arise during the course of the work in the space, further procedures and certain additional precautions that will continue to monitor and safeguard personnel will be put into effect. Where the risk to health or life is immediate or significant, more particular, highly controlled procedures will be implemented. Irrespective of the level of risk assessed, the responsible officer must be alert to any unexpected change in circumstances and be prepared to implement emergency procedures at any time. Small vessels, or those with small crew complements, may not have the resources to designate either the competent person or the responsible officer. In such cases, these positions will normally be filled from shore. In these circumstances, no entry into a potentially dangerous space should be made until a suitably qualified person is available to fill each role. The 12,573 gross registered tons US flag tanker William T. Steele was preparing to load a cargo of benzene at Guayanilla, Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, due to a planning oversight in the manifold rigging, the cargo was inadvertently loaded into the wrong tank, number 9 center, which had been reserved for a cargo of xylene. There was no chance of working with the wrong stowage, so the benzene was transferred out, and number 9 center was washed and ventilated. 2 crewmen entered the forward end of number 9 center to insert an isolation blank in a flange in a pipeline, and the chief officer went to the after part of the tank to eject water from the sump area. The 2 crewmen working forward were unaware of the presence of the chief officer. When the flanges in the line were cracked, benzene began to leak out, and the fumes forced the 2 crewmen to leave the compartment without completing their task. Once on deck, one of the crewmen looked back down into the tank and saw the chief officer lying in the bottom. The alarm was raised, and the second officer and several other crewmen entered the space without breathing apparatus to rescue the chief officer. By this time, the master had arrived on deck, and he donned a breathing apparatus and followed the others into the tank. When he reached the second officer some way down into the tank, he noticed that he was experiencing difficulty in breathing and attempted to share his air supply. As he tried to pass the mask over, both men fell the remaining distance to the bottom of the tank. Seeing this, the other crewmen immediately exited the tank. They survived, but all 3 officers died. The subsequent investigation by the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board concluded that both the chief officer and second officer died from prolonged exposure to the highly concentrated benzene vapors, and the master died from the same cause, but also possibly due to injuries sustained in the fall.
So, as we can see now, with this video we show, there's a very crucial points that we have to point out before we close today's lesson. One is that they have to make a proper risk assessment. Secondly, that they have to inform everyone who is on board that they are entering an enclosed space area. And finally, that in case there's an incident inside the enclosed space, the people that they are outside, they have to take all the precaution measures for their own safety in order that they will be able to save also their fellowships. So, If you don't have any questions for this lesson.
No, Captain, I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay, thank you very much also for your time, and hopefully we'll see you on the next course. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.